Good day, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. A planned return to office for a Grand Chief in Manitoba who is on leave following a fight outside of an Ottawa bar is now on hold. The Southern Chiefs organization says the planned January 6th return of Jerry Daniels is now extended until a Chiefs Summit gathering takes place in January. This organization represents 33 First Nations in Manitoba. On December 20th, 8 of those chiefs passed a motion calling for a Chiefs Summit in early January before a decision is made for a return to office for Grand Chief Daniels. The 8 First Nations that make up the Southeast Resource Development Council Corp said if a summit was not held, they would withdraw membership from SCO. On Sunday evening, SCO confirmed a summit will now be held and will focus on the apology recently offered by Daniels and identify the best path forward. Daniels previously said the incident outside of a bar in Ottawa was, quote, a wake-up call. He said he was committed to a treatment plan that includes both traditional ceremony and an alcohol treatment program. SCO did not respond to questions about when the meeting will be held. To Ottawa now, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had little choice but to shuffle his cabinet on Friday after the departures of Housing Minister Sean Fraser and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland earlier in the week, and a number of ministers who were already taking on extra duties. But even though a number of cabinet positions have been filled, questions remain about the future of the Liberal government and the Prime Minister himself. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
Ministers came out in groups to address media at Rideau Hall after the cabinet shuffle on Friday. But the one person who was noticeably absent was Prime Minister Justin Trudeau himself. Gary Anasandagri adds Northern Affairs to his existing portfolio of Crown Indigenous Relations, replacing Dan Vandel. But Anasandagri was unable to answer what the future holds for Trudeau when asked.
What's clear is there's a lot of work to do to help Canadians and to ensure that Canada is prepared as a new administration takes shape in the U.S. As someone who's continued to serve as a minister, that is the singular focus that we have.
Earlier in the day, Jagmeet Singh released a letter. In it, the NDP leader says, no matter who is leading the Liberal Party, this government's time is up. We will put forward a clear motion of non-confidence in the next sitting of the House of Commons. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre held a press conference of his own, in which he also said it is time for Trudeau and the Liberals to go.
This cannot go on. With a U.S. president coming in threatening tariffs early next year, we cannot have a chaotic clown show running our government into the ground.
Other changes include Ottawa MP David McGuinty taking on public safety from Dominic LeBlanc, and Toronto MP Nathaniel Erskine-Smith becomes Housing Minister replacing Fraser. Patty Haidu remains in Indigenous Services. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
That difficult week for Justin Trudeau continues to get worse. As sources say, more than 50 Liberal MPs gathered over the weekend to discuss the Prime Minister's future.
There's a strong view that something needs to happen, that the Prime Minister needs to move on.
The Prime Minister is believed to be reflecting on his political future after last week's dramatic resignation from Cabinet Minister, former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, and pointed to her pointed public departure letter prompting a fresh wave of Liberal MPs to call for the Prime Minister to go. It's been more than 34 years since the Kanesatake resistance, also known as the Oka Crisis. Recently, Justin Trudeau was reminded of it when he appeared before the Assembly of First Nations. APTN's Savannah Craig has the story surrounding an apology.
We would like an open apology and written apology that you sent your army to attack our nation.
Earlier this month, Grand Chief Victor Bonspiel, on behalf of the Iroquois Caucus, asked Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for an apology. More than 34 years ago, the federal government called the military to Kanesatake in what would become a 78-day siege on the Kanien'kehá:ka territory. After the nearby town of Oka planned to build a golf course on land known as the Pines.
They want people to get hurt over a golf course. The Native people are fed up with being pushed around and our land taken.
The federal government sent 4,000 soldiers to Kanesatake and Kahnawake. but faced fierce resistance. Ellen Gabriel was at the front lines in 1990.
Many of us had our privacy invaded. We were called terrorists.
She says an apology is not true reconciliation.
Land back for me means that we have control over the lands, our traditional territories, and a say in what happens on those lands. And I don't think that the Canadian or provincial government is really ready to acknowledge that, even though legally we have that right.
This is not the first time an apology has been requested.
In case you're not aware, today is July 11th. This is the anniversary of the 1990 Oka Crisis.
Kahnawake Grand Chief Cody Daibo requested it in summer 2024 to Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh during the Assembly of First Nations in Montreal.
Where your government marched troops into your allies' lands. There still has never been an apology about that.
Some traditionalists do not think the calls for an apology should come from the Iroquois caucus because it is comprised of band councils and not traditional longhouses, including Joe Diome, who was part of the negotiations to end the crisis in 1990.
I think it wasn't their place. It was the place of the people who were affected, which would be the traditional council in Kanesatake and also traditional council in Kahnawake, who were at the forefront throughout that whole summer.
Kahnawake elder Kenneth Deere says if there is an apology, it shouldn't only be the feds who provide it.
I think the mayor of Oka, who's passed away now, but I think the city, the town of Oka owes an apology for sparking this situation. Also, the Sûreté de Quebec, who enforced the injunction while negotiations were going on.
And this ain't a surrender either.
After the crisis, the federal government eventually purchased the land from developers in the town of Oka, but it has not transferred the title of this land to Kanesatake.
This dark area right here is our current land base.
The Band Council of Kanesatake believes the return of land is a priority.
An apology may go to help alleviate some of the trauma associated with it, but the real work for us is going to address all of the problems that were existing before the crisis.
Apologies doesn't mean anything unless there's something concrete to correct the causes of all that, those issues that came up. And that means acknowledgement of the loss of the land and the return of the land in Kanesatake.
But some still see value in an apology.
This would be an apology to not just the warriors, but to all the families that were harmed in this.
APTN reached out to the Iroquois caucus multiple times to request an interview over criticisms about an apology from Trudeau. It did not respond before our deadline. Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Kanesatake, Mohawk Territory.
Athabasca Chippewa First Nation Chief Alan Adam had some strong words after the province's police watchdog cleared the RCMP officers who took him down in a violent arrest 4 years ago. Chief Adam was badly cut and bruised in the incident outside a Fort McMurray casino after he was stopped for expired license plates. The ACERT report says Adam assumed a fighting stance after his wife was grabbed by the arresting officers and threatened with a charge of obstruction. Adam accused the RCMP of being racist, but the report says the officers acted properly and there was no evidence of racism. In a statement, Chief Adam says, in part, ACERT's suggestion that race did not play a factor in the assault is laughable. These incidents do not occur to wealthy white people in Alberta. It goes on to say the message to police across Alberta is clear. There are no consequences for those who assault and murder Indigenous people. Still in Alberta, the Siksika First Nation is taking the province to court over plans to relocate the Ghost Dam further downstream. The plan announced in September would see the Ghost Reservoir enlarged as a way to protect Calgary and area communities against flooding. The new site would be further east along the Bow River. The Siksika First Nation says that would impact its treaty right to use and benefit from the water supply. The nation says the province did not adequately consult before making the decision. Well, we're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, you can send us an email to news@aptn.ca. You can read and watch our stories by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Time for a quick break, and then we'll take you to a AIDA Christmas concert. Stick around. Welcome back. A special Christmas concert was held in Vancouver to honor winter solstice. APTN's Tina House was there and has this story.
Check 1 2, check 1 2, check. It's a busy day at the Culture Theatre as preparations are underway for a special night to honor not only winter solstice, but also the Haida language and culture. The person behind it all is Terry Lynn Davidson. My
name is Giralskotsli Lalachagans. I'm a member of the Gagils Kigawai clan from Skidams, and I'm really happy to be here today. This is a concert of songs, Christmas carols and popular Christmas songs that the elders of my community have translated into Haida, the Skiddy Haida Immersion Program, and they really wanted to have these songs shared as a way for the community to learn the Haida language.
Terry Lynn's husband is world-renowned artist Robert Davidson, and he's very proud of his wife for finding a way creatively that amplifies the words of their people, the Haida Nation. With less than a dozen fluent speakers of their language left, Robert says this work is very important for future generations.
We're going through an incredible change because we're losing so many of our speakers. And hopefully this will inspire other people to continue learning the language. I know when they performed in Skidegate, the elders were so tickled to hear their language in the songs she was singing.
These songs are part of a new album by Terry Lynn called Haida Solstice. It features her husband Robert's artwork on the cover called Raven Brings Light to the World. Joining Terry Lynn on this project is singer, songwriter, and producer Bill Henderson, who also happens to be the lead singer and guitarist for the Canadian rock band Chilliwack.
One thing about Christmas music is it always gets played and everyone wants to hear something different. They always want to hear something different. Now here's something that's different, and also it is interesting because it's coming from people are very interested now in Indigenous cultures, you know, and it's growing.
And in just a few short hours, this theater will be sold out for a one-night-only performance. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
What a super great idea. Well, we're looking back on 2024, and Northern Ontario experienced a year of ups and downs, with stories ranging from the disturbance of an ancient burial ground in the town of Winnipegs to the establishment of an Indigenous cultural centre in the city of Sault Ste. Marie. With more, here's APTN's Mike McDonald.
This past fall, members of the Red Rock Indian Band marched from their community of Lake Helen to the bridge on the Trans-Canada Highway connecting them with the nearby town of Nipigon, Ontario. They were demanding the return of their ancestors, unearthed during excavation for a planned visitors centre for Parks Canada.
It just really hurts that we have to go to this extent to get our word out there. But now it's out there, and hopefully there's be positive changes.
The remains were scattered among various sites, prompting what Chief Odawa called a morbid scavenger hunt for the missing remains. Carbon dating revealed the remains had been there for some time.
It dated between 1404 to 1456, and that's pre-contact, so it was pretty, well, we've been here since the beginning of time. And the ancestors protected the land, and now it's our turn to protect our ancestors.
The community of Netmazagamig Nishnabeg, otherwise known as Pic Mobert, was a topic of discussion in the Ontario legislature this year following a state of emergency declaration. This was due to a series of violent incidents which band officials said stemmed from the unchecked presence of organized crime due to inadequate policing resources.
Community members are acting on behalf of these organized crimes. They're doing a lot of these violent crimes to other community members.
People are seeing that window and that gap of lawlessness that leads to an environment where people are taking advantage of that situation.
This year's Truth and Reconciliation Day in Sault Ste. Marie included a ceremony at the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 25 to commemorate the construction of a memorial to the former Wawanosh School for Girls, which once occupied the land which now houses the Legion.
For the last 5 years, we've been working with the Children of Shinwalk. We participated in ceremonies, and they shared their truths with us from the heart and sincerely. And obviously, any person that has a conscience would understand that there's real hurt there from the residential school program.
This space here is really, really nice. I think it's going to be a very sacred place for people to gather in the future. You know, a place where you can sit down, feel calm.
And also in 2024, another step forward in the construction of an Indigenous Cultural Centre on the grounds of Algoma University, the former site of the Shingwak Indian Residential School.
Makwa is a very special name, meaning the bear, which is a symbol of the healing process that Aboriginal people have in their stories and in their lives. We did a lot of ceremony around the name and seeking the name for such an important part of Algoma University.
Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Sault Ste. Marie.
Time now to take a look at the results of last week's web poll questions. We asked, do you think more cultural competency training would help eliminate racism in Canada's healthcare system? There was a split between yes and no at 43%, and the rest were unsure at 14%. Our next question was, do you think the federal government should establish an Indigenous Human Rights Tribunal? A majority said yes at 59%, 32% said no, we shouldn't, and the rest were unsure at 9%. And lastly, we asked, do you feel safe in the downtown area of the city closest to you? A majority voted for not feeling safe in their downtown at 54%. 30% voted yes, they felt safe, and 16% just don't go downtown. Thanks to everyone who took the time to vote. You can check out this week's questions over on our website, aptnnews.ca. An annual Two-Spirit powwow was held in Winnipeg on Friday. That story and more still to come. Welcome back. Here's a look at your current conditions. 11 below in Fredericton, -6 in Halifax. Snow and -17 in Kuujjuaq, 15 below in Nain. -10 in Montreal, snow and 13 below in Chibougamau. -2 in Sault Ste. Marie, flurries and 8 below in North Bay. -5 in Thunder Bay, snow and 0 in Wawa. -11 with snow in God's Lake and Thompson. -9 in Winnipeg, sunny and 16 below in Dauphin. -8 in Regina, 10 below in Saskatoon, -15 in Uranium City, 8 below in Stony Rapids. Mild across northern Alberta, -6 in High Level, +1 in Grand Prairie, 5 above in Edmonton, 9 in Lethbridge. Showers and 11 in Vancouver, Victoria, and Tofino. 4 above in Prince George, snow and +1 in Smithers. -18 in Old Crow, 5 below in Whitehorse. -10 in Yellowknife, snow and 23 below in Norman Wells. -23 in Sax Harbor, 17 below in Pawlatuck. -15 with snow in Chesterfield, -14 and flurries in Baker Lake, 30 below in Resolute, -27 in Joe Haven. Winnipeg's 7th annual Two-Spirit Powwow was held on Friday. The festivities kicked off with a grand entry and artisan market. The event is organized by the Indigenous and 2S LGBTQ+ community organizations, including Sunshine House, Ganaganijik, the Rainbow Resource Center, and Two-Spirited People of Manitoba. Powwow aims to provide a safe and welcoming space for Two-Spirit and gender-diverse people. It started in 2017 through a crowdfunding campaign and has since become a yearly event with dancers, drum groups, and vendors. Gail Pruden is a Two-Spirit elder and jingle dress dancer from Little Saskatchewan First Nation in Treaty 2. She says the powwow is a place of healing and an opportunity to connect with generations of Two-Spirited people.
It's important to have them because there's not that many out there. Even though, like each and every other powwow, Two-Spirit are welcome and we feel safe enough to be able to come in and enjoy the other dancers and all the grandfather drums that are there. Like there's so much medicine at every powwow. And I've been going to a lot of powwows, and because I've been dancing so long, it makes it a safer space for the younger generation to come in and feel safe and belong and be part of. Because this is where we find our healing.
And finally this afternoon, a full circle moment for a woman in British Columbia and the seal pup she helped rescue this past summer. The Little Harbor seal was rescued in September when kayaker Charlotte Morrison noticed it stranded and looking weak. She called the Marine Mammal Rescue Society, which took the pup for treatment. They ended up naming her Binson. Now, just over 100 days later, Binson is back in the wild. The society says it has rescued 87 animals so far this year. Well, that's all the time we have for your first look at the news for this Monday. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward, Marcy Miigwech. Thanks for being with us. I will see you back here at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great afternoon.